Hello everyone, Nordic of TeamEnigma here, coming to you from the middle of a move, to let you know that sometimes lost media can be found in the weirdest of places. Sometimes someone finds old episodes of Doctor Who in their attic, and sometimes someone finds all 6 chapters of a previously thought lost mobile phone game from Japan on a phone that looks like it's been through several house fires. That's right. All 6 chapters of the original version of Mansion of the Deathly Mirror have been found by the wonderful folks over at KeitaiWiki. A user named Yuvi buys these old lots of used Japanese phones hoping to find something worth preserving, and among their most recent batch of phones was I'm gonna make sure that I get the model number right, an F906i with a whopping total of 55 apps on there, among which all 6 chapters of the original version of Deathly Mirror. Now, obviously, this is only the original version. The remix version isn't on there. Other Layton games such as Chummy's Casebook, Luke's Notebook, the Professor Layton Pocky crossover, none of these are on there. It is just the original 6 chapters, but the fact that we have all 6 chapters of the original version is mind-blowing. First of all, for preservation purposes, it's incredible because I don't really feel the need to explain that. It's incredible to have these versions. They're obviously in Japanese and we're working on a translation, but the fact that you can just get these from the KeitaiWiki right now, plug them into an emulator and play this game is incredible beyond words. That said, it's also really good news for our remake. Because obviously for the remake, we're trying very much to combine the original and the remix versions of the game into one complete cohesive thing. And we were running into a few, I wouldn't even necessarily say issues, more wishes. We could have made the remake, but it was always half sad knowing that, we weren't going to be able to include every puzzle or really truly compare the last 3 chapters of the remix with the original because we only had the remix version to go off. For instance, let's start with the minigames. There was a minigame for chapters 1 through 3 of both the original and the remix versions, and then a second minigame for chapters 4 through 6 of both the original and remix versions. However, the version of remix we don't have access to that minigame, or the diaries it rewards you. Now, the loss of the minigame we could have maybe smoothed over by just giving the first minigame a bunch more levels, but the diary entries were a bit more difficult in the sense that to smooth that over, we would have had to write new ones and try as hard as we could to keep them in the same spirit as the original. And I wasn't really looking forward to that. So it's kind of exciting to know that we can now just bring you these diary entries as they were originally intended, just give you guys the game's original vision, really. However, maybe more importantly than the minigames, we have a bunch of extra puzzles now. Like, a whole bunch of extra puzzles now. There was 15 puzzles that we had no access to, because again, we had the original 3 chapters and we had the remix entirely, but we didn't have original chapters 4, 5, and 6, and those puzzles were lost forever until now, which means that we can now up the total of puzzles in our remake from 45 to a total of 60, which, hey, who doesn't love more puzzles, right? Now, some of these puzzles are a bit more difficult to localize. There's a bunch in chapter 4, for instance, that are just, hey, use this specific form of Japanese grammar in this specific way. And that's not easily localizable, but given the work that we've already done on some of those similar puzzles in chapters 1 to 3 so far, we feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to deliver fun and interesting interpretations of those new puzzles for you guys. So, 60 puzzles instead of 45. That's probably the biggest news of today. Now, on top of that, there are a few other things as well. Like, there's a few characterizations that get changed between the original version and the remix. There's some dialogue changes. There's some storylines that go a little bit differently. And for a remake, we were almost certainly going to have to go with the remix versions of all of those things because we didn't have the back half of the original game. But now that we do, it gives us just a little bit more wiggle room to really compare these versions and combine them and make this game the most interesting version of itself. Also, another small thing on the back end is that we now have access to original assets for all of the backgrounds and all of the characters in the game, which, we're not going to use those, you're not going to see them, but for our asset recreation team, having the original assets to work off makes them really, really happy. So yeah, all in all, a pretty fantastic morning, not only for us as TeamEnigma, but for the Layton fandom in general. So, what next? Well, it might be a little while before we get another update out to you guys. the simple fact is that now that we have all these things, we're going to be spending a lot of time just translating and localizing about a million different things. And that's just not a very interesting part of the project to be sharing. There may be some fun little tidbits here and there while we're unpacking and analyzing the files. We've literally just got our hands on these yesterday. That's how fast the whole thing's gone. Like, sometimes we find interesting stuff in there. Sometimes one of our team members comes across some cut content, which is crazy. But all in all, the next steps of the project are just going to be translation. While we're very excited to do that and be doing that, again, it's just not the most interesting part to share. We do have some other things that we're working on that we will eventually be sharing out here. Not mention of the Deathly Mirror related, but still Leighton related, and in my opinion, pretty interesting. But that might be a little while as well. So for now, just keep on keeping on. Keep an eye on this YouTube channel, keep an eye on the subreddit, and keep an eye on our Discord if you feel so inclined. And if you have some spare time or you're really interested in the subject, please do go check out the KeitaiWiki. Their work is incredible, and they have been with us genuinely since the start of this whole thing. Like, everything we've done so far up to this point, none of it would have been possible without them. So much love and massive thanks to the people over there, and go support them, please. For now though, this is all we have to share. A quick update, but a pretty big one. So thank you very much for sticking around, and we hope to have more to share with you soon. Bye bye!